Lately, one of my clients encountered a situation that I've been familiar with. It's how you handle a very small project, short project. I had some pretty bad case of having to fail a short project some years ago, and I wanted to share what just happened. Why short projects? Short is, say, 4 weeks, 8 weeks. They tend to explode. So I just want to clarify a bit why, because I know when people think short project, they think easy. It's easy because it's short and it's small. And so they tend to take shortcuts, or they don't pay a lot of attention on securing this small project. And this is actually part of the reason why they blow up. But so I wanted to explore this a little more. Let's talk about risk for a second. Usually when you handle risk management, we tend to think that risks are independent. What if the server we need is not coming early? We can handle that. We have a plan for it. What if some of the teammates get sick? We have a plan for that. What if the development are kind of slower and put the deadline at risk? We have a plan for that. In a large project, these risks can be treated independently, but in a small project, the risks tend to be like dominoes. The server is not available, so the development is going to be slower. And the longer the project, the higher chance you have that somebody is going to get sick at some point. So on, so forth. So risks tend to actually activate each other, and you have the worst case possible, and you cannot handle all your problems. Even if you have counter actions in place, you cannot handle the combination of these projects. If I want to put a metaphor, it's like, imagine your project is a little spaceship that you're trying to fly through a space toward a destination, and you have constraints here and there and there that sort of form a tunnel. Deadline, budget, required scope, market shape. You're flying your ship through that tunnel. Now, what if the tunnel is very narrow? These constraints only leave you a small space. You may realize that every time you bump on one of these constraints, on one of the border of the tunnel, your ship's going to be a bit disturbed, right? But you can stabilize it and keep on your road. Maybe you're going to hit another wall, but then once again, you're going to correct course, get the ship back on track, and it's going to be absorbed. But what if it's a very narrow tunnel? You may realize that you hurt one wall, but then you bump, and the time to correct course, there's a high chance you're going to get bumped on the other way, and then you're going to hurt the next wall, and then the ceiling, and then at some point, your ship's going to be completely out of control. And this is what's going on with small projects. In a large project, you have, say, 6 months, 4 teams, something like this. You have time to recover from each of the problems. But in a small project, everything is tight. Every little problem appears big because losing one day is already a lot. And so to me, small project is like flying a spaceship is a very narrow tunnel. It's supposed to be a short trip, but there's a high chance that it's going to get messed up. And when you start to be under control, you do not drift by 5% or 10. You drift by 100%, 200%. Your project starts to take double. So you end up asking yourself, how did it take so long? And that's the answer. The answer is the constraints are so tight because of the size of the project. It's a 4-week project and you only have 3 people. And then you can start to bump on one problem that will actually make you bump on more problem and bump on more problem. And it will escalate. That's the problem with short projects. I make one shortcut here, and we'll talk about tomorrow about actually what's the counter strategy. How do you handle this thing? Can you handle these things?